Romantic infatuation strikes without warning. It is a sudden, unearned, and almost violent emotional collision that hits before you have time to brace for it. 1 second, your reality is stable. The next, your entire psychological landscape is forcibly rewritten to orbit a complete stranger. The opening lyrics of Nam Rakechi Bonalata capture this exact moment of impact. In the very first line, the narrator sees a woman and makes an incredibly bold, almost presumptuous choice. Upon his very first glance, he decides to name her Bonalata. Assigning an identity to a stranger removes their anonymity. By defining her as Bonalata, the narrator shifts from being a passive observer to an active participant, converting a passing attraction into a fixed, inescapable emotional investment. But this creates a massive emotional vacuum. The narrator has poured all of this intense feeling into a subject who has no idea what is happening. The affection is heavy, but it is entirely one-sided and unreciprocated. Naming the stranger represents a vulnerable act of desperation. The narrator is attempting to anchor a volatile, sudden emotion and claim it before the person and the feeling vanishes into the crowd. A sudden spark burns out quickly if it doesn't evolve. To build an actual connection, the narrator has to stop projecting his own desires and start observing the reality of the person in front of him. He looks closely and notices what the lyrics describe as clouds full of water dwelling in her eyes. It is a striking, heavy metaphor for unshed tears. Spotting those tears forces an immediate pivot. The narrator's focus snaps away from his own romantic infatuation and locks onto her quiet, hidden pain. He processes this sorrow by retreating inward. The lyrics reveal that he takes her picture and redraws it in what he calls his lonely, secluded mind. This creates a strange emotional paradox. Inside his head, he feels intimately tethered to her sadness, but out in the real world, they remain completely isolated from one another. True romantic empathy requires heavy lifting. It means taking another person's unspoken sorrow and actively making room to carry it inside your own mind. To break this agonizing stalemate, the narrator practically begs her to speak. He asks her to stop hesitating, to drop her quiet resistance, and to just say something. There is a specific helplessness in the romantic waiting period. You are standing inches away from someone you desperately want to comfort, but they have deliberately walled themselves off. This logic flowchart maps out the core friction driving the song. The narrator's bold affection is sent outward, but hits a dead end. External silence forces that emotional signal to bounce right back, creating a feedback loop that amplifies his internal isolation. If that loop continues unchecked, the silence becomes a weight. Without feedback, the narrator's one-sided affection will eventually buckle and collapse under the strain of its own unanswered intensity. A flat-out rejection provides closure. The actual threat to a sudden romance is the quiet, suffocating ambiguity of hesitation. The tension finally reaches a breaking point. Surviving purely on silent observation is no longer an option, forcing the narrator to step out of his head and take physical action. He finally approaches her, and the climactic lyric drops his guard completely. He admits that he is stepping forward with a trembling, deeply hesitant heart. The guy who confidently assigned her a name and demanded she speak drops his bold facade. He is every bit as terrified and insecure as the withdrawn woman he's singing to. They exist in a state of shared fragility. To reach someone who has retreated, you must mirror their state, offering your own unprotected vulnerability as evidence that it is safe to reconnect. He takes the ultimate gamble. He leaves the perfect safety of his imagination and risks total, crushing devastation, all for the singular hope of hearing her say, "I love you too." The lasting power of the song lies in that raw honesty. Romance rarely looks like a fearless hero sweeping someone off their feet. It looks like two equally terrified people, voluntarily giving up their safest hiding spots, just for the chance to finally be seen.